Good morning, YouTube. It's me, Corey. It is Saturday morning, February 10th. I want to say, no, February 11th. Um, at getting close to 6 in the morning. This is probably about the strangest time I've ever done a video, but it's one of those nights where my ADHD mind is racing and I have insomnia. I've been up. I fell asleep really early last night. I fell asleep like around 9:30, and I think that's because I got a lot of exercise yesterday. I worked out twice yesterday. So I think my body is my body just needed rest really early. But then I got up at like 3 o'clock this morning and have not been able to get back to sleep ever since then. So I wanted to make this video right now while everything's fresh in my head. Um, so yeah, you get a half awake me at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. So what I wanted to talk about was I wanted to make a video about schizoaffective disorder because my friend Karen on here um who has a YouTube channel. If you guys can subscribe to Karen's channel, her channel is called Northern Girl. So if you look up Northern Girl, you should be able to find her. It's my friend Karen. She's in Indiana, and she earlier this year when I made that video earlier this year asking what you guys want to see in 2023. She suggested I make a video. I think it was Karen. It could have been someone else, but I think it was Karen. Let me know if I'm wrong. Um, Someone suggested I make a video about schizoaffective disorder and explain what exactly it is and give some more information about it, basically. So I wanted to take a second to do that. So schizoaffective disorder is a mental health impairment that isn't like full on bipolar and it isn't like full on schizophrenia, but it's a combination of symptoms of those two things. Well, actually, let me correct myself. I should, instead of saying bipolar, I should say a mood disorder because there's two types of schizoaffective disorder. There's schizoaffective disorder bipolar type, which is the type I'm diagnosed with, which is basically a mix of schizophrenia and bipolar symptoms. And there's schizoaffective disorder depressive type, which is more like a combination of schizophrenia and major depression symptoms. So those are the two types you can have. And I'm diagnosed with the bipolar type, so I'm going to be focusing more on that. So the way it was explained to me, first of all, I want to talk about a month ago, my grandma asked me a question about schizoaffective disorder and wanted some more information on it. So we found a really good page on the Mayo Clinic's website that talked all about schizoaffective disorder, what it is, how it affects people's lives, what the treatments for it are, what types of therapy go for it. Like everything you could want to know about schizoaffective disorder is on this page on the Mayo Clinic's website. And I wanted to share that page with you guys, but I wasn't sure how to like bring up the page and still record a video at the same time. So for those of you who are more tech savvy, maybe you can help me understand that, and maybe you can help me do that in my future videos. But basically, when I was describing it to my grandmother said, well, you know, Corey, it sounds a lot like a form of bipolar disorder. And she's basically right. You know, it basically is. But it also does deal with schizophrenia symptoms too. And when I was living in Washington at my last mental health agency at Valley City's Behavioral Health Care in Kent, Washington, I had a therapist there for 2 years who specialized in CBT therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy. And CBT therapy is kind of like the go-to therapy for schizophrenia, or any type of psychosis. Um, Kind of like how DBT is usually associated with borderline personality disorder or bipolar disorder. CBT is kind of the go-to therapy method for schizophrenia spectrum disorders. And my therapist, Chuck, who did this CBT treatment, he did say schizoaffective disorder does fall on the schizophrenia spectrum. So I guess maybe someone can correct me on this, but I guess it is a schizophrenia spectrum disorder. Um, so you're going to get schizophrenic symptoms with schizoaffective disorder. So, when people think of schizophrenia, they think of, you're someone that hears voices. But really, there's a lot more to schizophrenia than just hearing voices. There's paranoia, there's paranoid delusions, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety, there could be panic attacks. There's a lot of depression that comes with schizophrenia, in my opinion. I notice, I don't know if that's part of the diagnosis, but I notice a lot of us who have it also suffer from depression or have some form of depression that comes with it. So that seems to be a big one. It can impair your speech, it can impair your thinking, it can kind of slow you down. Sometimes it comes with a tic. Some forms of schizophrenia come with a tic. That's kind of rare, but it does happen. And I'm one of those people. I've had a tic that's been going on since I was in 6th grade, and I'm not sure if my tic is because of schizoaffective disorder or because of ADHD or what exactly it's because of, but it is present, and I have had it since I was in about 6th grade. So probably 11 or 12 years old, and I'm 32 years old now. I just turned 32 back in January. So yeah, that's kind of if you have schizoaffective disorder, you are going to be dealing with schizophrenic symptoms, and then there's visual hallucinations that come with it too. In addition to just hearing voices, so you might be seeing shadow people, you might be seeing people out of the corner of your eyes. One hallucination I get a lot is I get bugs crawling around, like just looks like thousands of little ants all over everything, all over the furniture, all over the floors, all over if there's people around me, all over our clothing and stuff like that. Just thousands of little ants. So that's one I get a lot. That's one that's common with my schizoaffective. So the other aspect of schizoaffective is going to be your mood disorder. That's going to be either bipolar or major depression, which I think is a little bit more easier to explain than the schizophrenia aspects, because we hear a little bit more, as a society, we hear a little bit more about bipolar and depression than we do schizophrenia. So I'm not going to go into like major details about that, but you're going to get, if you're like me and you have the bipolar type, you're going to get your manic episodes, which are like really severe highs. And then you're going to get your depression phases where you're going through a lot of depression. And when you're manic, you might get kind of aggressive. I tend to get kind of aggressive. I can get angry sometimes. So it's really important for me to be on medication so I don't get too angry and become violent or anything like that. That's basically the best way I can describe schizoaffective disorder in a nutshell. So again, I would encourage you to go to the Mayo Clinic's website and look up schizoaffective disorder, because there's a page on the Mayo Clinic's website that really gives you all the information you could ask for about this disorder. And I wish I could share that page with you guys, but I can't share it with you guys. But let's talk about treatments for schizoaffective disorder. The big one is medication management. Now, there are some people with schizoaffective disorder who are able to manage without medication, but I've noticed the majority of us are on medication, and I'm a person that relies on medication. So, what kind of medication are you going to want for schizoaffective disorder? For the mood disorder aspect, you're going to want either a mood stabilizer or an antidepressant, depending on whether you're bipolar type or major depressive type. Um, with bipolar type, antidepressants are kind of controversial because they can induce mania. But at the same time, a lot of forms of bipolar come with really bad depression. So sometimes, even with bipolar type, you're going to want an antidepressant. I'm on 2 antidepressants. I'm on Wellbutrin and Lexapro. The Wellbutrin being the main one, that's at 300 milligrams, which is a pretty average dose of Wellbutrin. And then I complement it with just a baby dose of Lexapro, which is at 5 milligrams. It was at 10 milligrams, but we were having problems with me becoming too aggressive, so my doctor lowered that down to 5 milligrams, and that seemed to do the trick. That seemed to be exactly what I needed. The other thing is, for your schizophrenic symptoms, you're really going to want an antipsychotic. For me, that's Rexulti. Other antipsychotics I've been on would be Seroquel, Abilify, Latuda, Invega, Zyprexa, and Perfenazine, and I think that's it for me. But you're probably, if you're like most schizoaffectives, you're probably going to want some form of antipsychotic for your schizophrenic symptoms. And sometimes the antipsychotic can act as a mood stabilizer too for your bipolar symptoms, which is what it is for me. It's my Rexulti acts as a antipsychotic and a mood stabilizer for my bipolar symptoms. But otherwise you might want to be up on a straight up mood stabilizer for your bipolar, which that would be like lithium, Depakote, Lamictal, Trileptal, that type of thing. So yeah, antipsychotics, mood stabilizers, antidepressants, those are kind of your go-to medications for schizoaffective disorder. And then as far as therapy, like I talked about, CBT therapy, or just, I read a thing on the Mayo Clinic's website that said family therapy is important, so getting your family involved. That's kind of your go-to therapies. So, you guys, that is pretty much all I can think of to talk to you right now about schizoaffective disorder. But if you do have any more questions about it, if you want to know about my experience with it, or, if you want to pick at my brain a little bit, just feel free to leave me comments and questions about it, and I'll try to get back to you as quickly as I can. Other than that, I'm going to wrap this video up because this is starting to get to be a longer one. And I did want to give an update on my MAT treatment, because in the last video I talked about stopping my MAT treatment for my substance abuse disorder. I am almost done with it. I have about 2 or 3 days of the naltrexone pills left, and then after that I'm going to be done with MAT, and I'm just going to handle my substance abuse just with AA, NA, Smart Recovery, individual talk therapy, and reading my AA book with my sponsor, and that's going to be about it. I feel like the Lord's given me the treatment and the tools that I need to combat my drug addiction on my own without MAT. So that's the next step I'm taking. So about 2 or 3 more days of that left, and then I'll be done with it. I'm no longer seeing the doctor for it. And as far as my new mental health services, I talked about changing my mental health services because my program at Hope Network is being cut. I did get enrolled in Spectrum Health Behavioral Healthcare Services. So Spectrum Health Behavioral Health is going to be in my future. I'm going to be seeing them for medication management. Now for the therapy piece, I still haven't figured that out yet. I still have to figure out where I'm going to go for therapy.